Thank you to all who brought your questions, and I'll answer a few of the questions, and we're going to have some special music, and then we'll have some more questions, and if we need to, we can bring a microphone to you. We ministers call this a question box service, but we also, the nickname for it, STUMP the CHUMP. I'm the chump. So I'm just going to do these randomly. I wonder how to live fully in spite of fear. I think I spoke at the beginning of one of the services at the beginning of December around, we often think we're limited by fear. As you know, it was during November when we talked about courage. And I think one of the things that I really explored, that often fear is part of it, but often we're limited by our own comfort. We're not willing to take that risk to go beyond, our own comfort level. Like we might make a mistake, we might look silly, we might look like we don't know what we're doing. And I think that idea of, looking at, is it really fear? And what's that fear of? I mean, is it just fear going out of your comfort zone? Or is it legitimate fear that this might be risky to my life or something like that? That's a different type of thing. But I think sometimes we're often just fearful of looking silly or embarrassing ourselves, or like I know I've got a fear of singing. I just don't feel I've got a good voice, and I wish I did. I listen to Jen and Dawn and Bev sing, and it's just, I'm so jealous. And I know jealousy is not a good spiritual practice, but I am of all three of you. I listen to the choir, like the beautiful piece they did last night, and I have this fear. And what I'm scared of is, I may not have a good singing, but it's just embarrassment. So I think really looking at what the fear of, is it embarrassment? Is it really a risk to your life? Is it just doing something new? And I think that can help us to live fully by just really identifying what the block is in fear, and maybe finding spiritual practices to kind of just gently move us in that direction. I thank you for the question. That's a great question. I think it's something we all wrestle with. I wonder what specifics will hold dominion over humans. I wonder what species will hold dominion over humans. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, the kind of what dominion's got some roots in, the Hebrew scriptures, the story of Genesis of humans being given, in the Hebrew scriptures it said man, but humans being given dominion over animals. And dominion, it's kind of come to mean in the kind of religious idea of we have power over. But if you actually look at the roots of the Hebrew word of that, a lot of it's around you're supposed to care for it. You're kind of caretakers of it. So what will hold? I'm not sure it'll be a species. I wonder if technology will hold dominion over us. I feel in some ways we're moving in that direction now. Google seems to know me better than I know myself. But I think there's that, technology, is technology ever going to become sentient? I'm not sure. There's arguments amongst the artificial intelligence community about that. But I'm not sure it'll be so much animals, unless it could be a species from another planet in the universe, maybe a possibility. I wonder that we may destroy ourselves before any other species may take power, dominion over us. But I think technology might be a path towards that. And I know there's science fiction stories out there where technology does. We become the servants of technology rather than, technology becoming the servants for us. And there was a fascinating documentary about social media. What was it called? We watched it last Christmas. No, not so. But it was talking about how most tools sit there inactive until we actually use them. But the thing with social media, it's constantly notifying us, reminding us and asking us to engage with it. It's not that we can engage with it when we choose. There's almost psychology in this technology that's constantly reminding us. So I think there's examples out there that we're already becoming somewhat, maybe not subservient, but certainly influenced to an extreme degree by technology. So I think that's where I would go with that one. But it's a great question as well. Thank you for these. These are great questions. Social Dilemma, that was it. Thank you. Yeah. I thought that was I would recommend that documentary. I think it's on Netflix. It was last year. I think it still is. And it's people, a lot of them in the Bay Area who work for Facebook and who have become concerned about technology. It really explores the influence. Thank you, Julia. Yeah, Social Dilemma was what it was called. Great documentary. Frightening, but insightful. First question is, I wonder why there is a universe at all. I've wondered that since I was a young boy. I always thought, like, if you go to the edge of the universe, what's beyond it? I remember thinking that as a young boy, and it was funny, last night at Christmas Eve, Elisa Knapp's son was here, and he's studying physics. And we got talking about this question after the Christmas Eve service last night. And is there a universe? Why there's a universe at all? I think Stephen Hawking, the physicist, he actually started exploring the Big Bang theory from the idea of around black holes, like what caused the Big Bang? And so the Big Bang has caused this element where the universe has expanded and expanded and expanded. And some believe it'll contract, some believe it can keep expanding forever. We don't really know the answer at all. What caused that? Was that an act of God? Was that divine? Was it just a miracle of chemistry and science? But that's what created space. But really, I don't think scientists know how space was, space in the general sense, like what we live in, not just space up there, was created. So I wish I could answer that, but it's a great question. I wonder how that we now have consciousness. I think consciousness is one of the things that for me is sacred and divine. I think it does give us that idea of, that self-awareness. And I think a consciousness is more developed than other animals, but it's often when we think of consciousness, is it in the mind? I did a class in seminary where we actually explored the idea of emergent systems, that it was actually the mind interacting with the chemistry of the body that created this consciousness well beyond the mind. And there's a lot of current neuroscience that thinks that consciousness is not concentrated in the mind, it's concentrated more fully in the body as well. But I think consciousness is one of the things that I think can help make us spiritual creatures. We are aware of ourselves, we can influence the future, we can influence the past. I think that's a really fascinating element. We can make predictions about the future. Because I think there's two levels of kind of consciousness that many of us have. We have that, like most other animals, we have that emotional response to situations. And that's one level of kind of instinctual consciousness. There's this other level of consciousness where we can think ahead, think back in time, we can look at the regrets we have in our life, we can look at the hopes and dreams we have for the future and have the consciousness around that. But I think consciousness is one of the things that perhaps makes us spiritual beings. There's another question. I wonder what we can do to make a peaceful world. Is it a peaceful world? I think we wrestle with that every day in this religious community. I look around at some of the social justice activists, and I think we all do, many of us do what we can. I think it was a big message last night in the Christmas Eve service was, Jesus was supposed to be this bringer of peace. And one of the things I said at last night's service was that I think we are the hearts, the minds, the hands of the divine, of the sacred, of God in this world, to bring peace, to bring love, to bring care. And I think it can be overwhelming when we look at the scale of it. I mentioned earlier about Ukraine, which was an absolute tragedy, and we wonder what we can do. And I think we have to do the work we can that calls us, what we're passionate about. We can't do this if we just, become hopeless. And we just have to look at what's the passion in us. It might be helping your next door neighbour, it might be ending the war in Ukraine, it might be protesting Washington DC, but what calls us, because that's going to be a long-term struggle, so we need to do it with passion and hope with our religious community we can help sustain that passion. Next question is, I wonder when we will have a united country. It does not seem to be getting better. There's an understatement. I'm not sure what it will take to bring a united country, but there's been divisions before. I mean, we look at the Civil War, and it took a war to somewhat bring it together, though it's arguable whether that did. I worry, I think religion could be a force that could bring it together, but you look at the history of religion, it's been a force of division. And I think there's an element in our psychology around we're groupish people. We define our in-group against another out-group, and that's just becoming amplified again with social media and technology. We can go off into our little groups. We do not have the common source. I was talking to Natalie last night at Christmas Eve. I was saying, I remember growing up in Britain, we had like 3 channels or 4 channels. So we'd watch like 3 or 4 channels, and so we had a kind of, most of the country was watching the same TV shows. I think now with this fragmentings, now we all have different experience, different facts, different perspectives, and we always think diversity is a good thing, but with diversity like that, it creates a fragmentation, and I don't know what will bring us together. Will it be a catastrophe like another war? This rattling with China, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Sometimes it takes a war to bring people together, but we hope it doesn't come to that. But I think that's a question we're all wrestling with, like how can we bridge the gaps? And we've seen some things here. Bruce North, one of our members, after one of the sermons I gave when I talked about the Better Angels group, they're trying to have civilized, deep, meaningful conversations between people with political differences, but talk about the differences and understand one another and building that human connection. I know it seems ideal, but I think it will take that, because right now there's a dehumanizing of the other, and when we start talking political terms, that if you vote for this, it's going to be Armageddon, it's an apocalypse, rather than this idea of, well, I disagree with your tax policy. We heard the rhetoric around the Affordable Care Act. This is going to destroy America. Well, that was ridiculous. You may disagree with government interfering with healthcare, but it's not going to destroy America. There's lots of countries in the world that have a government healthcare, and they're not destroyed. So I think this idea where we see the other people, we question the motives, not just the actions. I think if we realize that perhaps we can agree in motives and have different ways of doing it. But then when people questioning democracy right now, that's a tough one. I like this question. Reverend Brian's favorite Christmas movie? Oh. I think probably out of, I'm trying to think what the name of it. Die No. What's the one about the train? Polar Express. Yeah, it was something we grew up watching with Isla, my daughter, for a long time, and we watched it just about every Christmas. Though I have to say, I hadn't seen it for a long time, but Natalie I came in towards the end, and It's a Wonderful Life was on, and that's really quite a great movie, that old one. But I think between that and Polar Express are probably my favorite movies. What's that? That's a great choice. Oh, well, thank you. So I got one of them right. That's good. Thank you for the question, though. That's a fun question. What's other people's favourite movie? Anyone like to shout out? What's your favourite Christmas? Love Actually? Anyone else? Home Alone? I've never seen that. Casablanca, a Christmas movie. Oh, that's nice. That's a great movie, though. Sound of Music, yep. I have to say Sound of Music. So what was that, Ed? Oh, The Big Lebowski, yeah. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I was finding, so you mentioned Sound of Music. When Natalie and I were first dating, so this is confession time at the UU church. We were talking, we were agreeing and everything. We said, I said, what's your favourite movie? And she goes, Sound of Music. And I went, oh. And she goes, what's your favourite movie? I said, Midnight Cowboy. Yes, it's a movie about male prostitutes. But it's I think it was the only X-rated movie to win Best Oscar, Best Film Oscar. So it's a great movie. Many people know they can participate in World Central Kitchen's support of the people of Ukraine by purchasing an Is Potato, is that correct? An Is Potato t-shirt or mug from the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Over $100,000 so far. So let me read that again. So thank you for this. Many people know they can participate in the World Central Kitchen support of the people in Ukraine by purchasing an Is Potato t-shirt or mug from the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. So thank you for that. It's great to know. I will share, but it says, I wonder what you're doing with your time off this week. People know there's been 4 services this week. There was last Sunday, the Blue Christmas service, and thank you to all who came to the Blue Christmas service, Christmas Eve and this one. So, sleeping, drinking coffee. My daughter's actually going to see her in-laws in Colorado tomorrow. Oh, sorry, in-laws, grandparents. My in-laws, Isla's grandparents. And so Natalie and I are child-free this week. And so we were going to go away, but we thought we're just going to spend some time in the Bay Area. We both lived here for 16, 17 years. And so it's nice to be back, but we haven't really had a chance to explore. So I think that's what we're going to do. And someone else, this person asked, I wonder when you bought that hat. Natalie bought me this hat. Because she said, I'm not a Santa, I'm an elf. And someone is to be an elf. This is my thinking hat, my thinking cap. I wonder how the world got populated in Christianity since Adam and Eve had 2 sons. That's a great question. I wonder that too. Just talking about Adam and Eve, this is slightly tangential, but one of the stories about Adam and Eve I always find really interesting is that if you look at the story, and of course it's metaphorical, I mentioned this last night, and we shouldn't take it too literally, but the fact is, the snake told Eve the truth. God lied. They didn't die if they ate from the tree of knowledge. But they didn't die, but they, of course, it didn't die immediately. How they had 2 sons. That we know of. They had 2 sons that we know of. You know how women get written out of history? They probably got written out of the Genesis as well. And I wonder if this will be the year science wins over superstition and misinformation. Let's make it so. I say that as as a physics graduate. Someone wonders, how can I truly practice the first principle, respect for everyone? the inherent worth and dignity of everyone. And one of the things that I find helpful in that is that the inherent worth and dignity of everyone means that we respect everyone and they have dignity. And I would even say Unitarian Universalism calls us to love everyone, but it doesn't mean we like them. And I think that one of the things I like to say about love, we are called as from the universal side of a tradition to love all people. But some we hold everyone in love, but some we hold further away than others. I wonder if I'll live to 90, 73 today. I'll say you're off to a good start. You're closer to it than I am. Yeah, I think 90 seems to be a goal. I know I have internally around, I'd like to live till I was 90. I think my real goal is I'd love to live till I was 2050. I think that would be really, like halfway through the century. I think that's my real goal. I'll be 88 then. I think that would be quite good. So if I make it to 88, I'll be quite happy. And this other question is, why don't we realize that all religions are about love? I think it goes back to that tribalism again, that we think, one of the obstacles I know for me in Christianity was you can only come to the Father through me. That idea of the kind of exclusiveness of religion, that there's only one path to the sacred, to the divine, to your relationship with God, if you believe in God. And I think when your religions get exclusive, I think the other thing, and you can look at most, especially Christianity, but I'm using it as an example, it's not really the only one. When the religion becomes affiliated with power, when Christianity switched after about 300 years after the death of Christ from the religion of the people, the oppressed, the struggling, the marginalized, to religion of government, to monarchy, then it became corrupted, and it became, rules became fixed. So I think I think one of the wonderful things about the United States is the diversity of religion here that most other countries don't have. I gave up Christianity when I grew up Presbyterian in Scotland, but discovering Unitarian Universalism was really meaningful. It's been incredibly meaningful to me, and I imagine for many of us. And it's a religion that really has got its roots and its culture in the United States. That diversity, that inclusion, with shared values and different beliefs. I think that is a great blessing for us as a faith. And I know it's meaningful to me, and I hope it's meaningful for you, that we can come together. Some of us believe in the theistic Christian God, some of us believe in the Hindu Gaia, some of us are atheists, some of us are agnostic, some of us are pagan. But we come together around shared values of equity, of love, of compassion and care and justice. We come around those shared values. We have different beliefs around the sacred and the existence of it, but it's the shared values that bring us together as a community. So thank you so much. Thank you for these questions. These have been great. I hope I'll type these up and send it out to everyone so you can get a chance to reflect on them, because I thought these questions were tremendous. And you can continue to let me know your favorite Christmas movie.